Hello, good morning, welcome back to the Fish Locker out on the boat. I'm out this morning with my friend Chris. It is a stunner of a morning. This morning is actually the longest day of the year. It is the summer solstice. And we're out to try our first blue sharking session of the year. Everything's a little bit late this year. We'll usually have done something by now, but we've just not been able to with the conditions. First order of the day though is to try and find some bait. Yeah, when we get out there, I'll talk to you about all the rigs, the rods, the tactics, everything as we're doing it. We're just going to get where we're going. Let's go. That'll do. We don't need too many of them because we can use bits of that to catch more bait when we get out to the sharking grounds. Yeah. Inshore waters are thick with plankton at the minute. You can even see it on the sounder. Hopefully it's not too bad where we're going. Stopping off on the way where we're going to try and catch a little bit of bait. Mackerel, scad, whiting, pouting, anything like that. Also at the same time, we might stop off on a couple of wrecks. We use opportunities like this to try out, to prospect new wrecks. So if we're steaming from one place to another, instead of steaming in a straight line, we might go in a bit of a zigzag to try and see what wrecks are fishing.
Yeah. Oh, good fish.
Oh, nice.
I thought I got a fish.
You're on feathers?
No, it's on the...
Is that little lure?
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, no.
So there's sabotage going on there.
Got it off. Yeah. I could feel my line grating on Chris's line there. I just thought I need to get mine out of the way because this could be a decent fish here. Yeah, all we're doing is we've come to another marker wreck that we haven't really prospected before. It's a mark that I had. I've got a friend who's an old commercial fisherman. He hasn't commercial fished in probably 30 years, and this is one of his marks from before, from back in the day. That's a nice pollock, that. And the lures that we're using are actually special lures. Can't tell you too much about them, but they're prototypes.
Well, you can't even see it, so that's how much I like it.
Yeah. They're prototypes of a lure that we're working on. Nice fish, that. I don't know how well you can show you, but yeah, that lure has disappeared. Racker. We'll get that dispatched and go around for another drift. Yeah, the interesting thing about this is there's nowhere near anything on any charts, and yeah, we're having to kind of track it out. You plot it out, just work like a grid, and when you mark it on your sounder, then you mark it on your GPS. Well, it's definitely a wreck to look at in the future. It's not a donkey like, but it's a fish. Taking my time with it so I can try and put it back. Not stopping every 10 metres and letting it have a dig back. Try and let it equalise some of the pressure out. Well, I did my best. There you go. A nice size for a fillet. And that was all it was on. we'll get this dispatched and bled and get where we're going. We have got where we're going. We are in 85 metres of water. The temperature is just over 14 degrees. Chris is cutting up a little bit of strip bait to put on feathers, to try and feathers up a little bit more bait, and I'm going to start putting the chum out. Now I make my own chum and I freeze it into blocks. I am sorry that the sun is right behind us. I'll try and position the boat a little bit better as I can throughout the day, but yeah. One of the fundamentals of having a decent day's shark fishing is having a good chum slick. Chum is just chopped up bits of fish and all sorts of nice goodness. Some bran and fish oil. The reason why I like making my own and then freezing it is so it thaws out throughout the day and then slowly releases. Yeah. One tip is to do this inside of a bucket, so you don't end up with chum all on the inside of your boat. We are now going to run a long drift. We're drifting at about a knot. We're going to run a long drift over an area of ground. The chum slick is going to seep out towards that way, make a long trail behind us, and we're going to float some baits out into that chum slick. I'll show you all the rods and rigs and everything as we get them set up. Just one thing at a time. Doing alright with it, heavy lead? Heavy lead. Catch a couple of whiting out here. Work great as hook baits. We've got a few already, but if we have a decent day you might need a dozen. At the same time we'll also fish for things like haddock and gurnards on the bottom, because they're delicious. In my little box of tricks today I've got all my shark traces. Now I've actually got videos on the Fish Locker Workshop channel showing you how to make my shark traces and how to make my chum. The traces are in two parts. One part is like a rubbing leader incorporating a lead, and the other part is a hook link. Now the leads, I'm going to be varying leads depending on depth and the drift that you're having, but 3 or 4 ounces is going to be alright for now. And the hooks are, I think these are 14 Cocks and Roll Mutsu circles with the barb crushed, and I've stuck a couple of muppets on there as well, because I like muppets. Rig is really simple. I'm using a large sliding float. I've got about 10 feet of wire leader, 2.5 feet of hook length. I'm using a mackerel flapper as bait. Now this setup, this is a Conflict offshore casting rod, and I can't remember what it is, 30 to 180, yeah, 30 to 180, and all I've done is I've just floating a bait out there. It's got 60 pound mainline braid on. This is a Spinfisher live liner. I like the live liners because you've got a live liner function on there so that drag can come off, and as soon as you wind the handle you're back onto full drag. We'll probably fish 2 or 3 sharking rods today. We can get away with more sharking rods because there's more people. When I'm fishing by myself I never fish more than 2, because you do occasionally hook 2 at the same time and you've got a real handful. But yeah, we'll drift one out to maybe 100 yards from the boat and put that as deep as we want. Second one will be about 50 yards and the next one will be right around the boat. Red burner there.
Not what.
They're a difficult one to handle because they're just absolutely covered in spines. Thanks.
No worries.
It's like handing me a hand grenade. Just a little bit too small to keep. You catch them 2 pound and above. You do get a nice little fillet off them. And they are lovely to eat. That is a nicer one, that. Oh yeah. almost almost to order. Yeah, that is a nice red garnet, that one. If you can hear him croaking. Yeah, you see these little legs underneath it? These little legs underneath here. They're actually part of their pectoral fins and they walk along the bottom with them. But yeah, keep hold of this one. All Chris is doing there is he's got a set of mackerel feathers and he's baiting it with a little bit of squid. Just dragging it on the bottom. It's one of the exciting things about shark fishing like this is because you never know when the bites are going to come. I've had it some days, haven't we, where you haven't even got the chum bag over the side and you've got sharks beside the boat. And other days you have to wait an hour, 2 hours. But yeah, also it could be anything between like a 10-pound shark or a 300-pound shark. Nice whiting.
No. Okay.
Another pound. Shark.
What below you?
Yeah. Don't even know if it's hooked or not. No, it's not. Oh, no, he's... I literally just hand fed that. I just dropped that mackerel over the side and I saw that seagull bolt and I thought, hey look, what's going on there? And just as I fed it out I felt a bump in my hand. And yeah, there was a shark. It's come right up underneath, right up underneath the boat.
Didn't take long.
No. I tell you what, it's not a bad one either. It'll be a 40-odd pounder. I was just about to change the camera battery as well. So that fish has bypassed that bait over there. Come straight into the bag, hasn't it?
There's another one out there, I can see it.
Yeah.
By the float.
You pass us another pair of gloves, well, I've got a free hand because I might have a double up here. That many pairs of gloves I've had another set. When we come out and we saw the colour of the water, I was thinking, I might have to wait a while for this. Go on, unwrap. That there is a perfect example of why you need a longer leader. Because blue sharks are terrible for wrapping up.
Four 1 7 7 7 0.
Just press it in there, I'll grab it. There's the tag. Already? There we go. Yeah, like I was saying, we hadn't had to wait more than 10 minutes for that one. The bait was right below the boat. So, explaining, we're talking about where to put the floats. We've got one at distance, which is the deepest, one mid-distance, which is mid-depth, and then one right next to the boat. I was just feeding that bait out. I hadn't even had a chance to properly set the float. So it was only set maybe 10 feet below the boat. And when I threw a little piece of bait over, a seagull come into the side of the boat. And I'd seen it fly away real skittish, and I thought, And then luckily, as I just managed to put it over and I had hold of it, I felt a quick tug. And the fish was literally below the boat. First one of the year. We're off the blank. It's mad how it's come past that one. It must have come in really high. Yeah,
there's definitely another one high up. I saw it around floating.
It's about shallow.
I don't think you're going to want a deep bait today. I don't think they're going to want a deep bait. I don't know the way too shallow.
Small boat fishing like this, I mean, me and Chris do it quite well because we've fished together for a long time. But organisation, we'll have nothing on the deck down here in the way, just because we might end up hooked up into two sharks at the same time and had to move around each other. So if you're tripping over buckets and ropes and bags and tackle boxes and all, yeah, everything up out of the way. And everything that you're going to need, you want it right to hand, which is your gloves, your T-bar, in our case, some tags. These tags are flow tags, and we're tagging sharks for the Cooperative Shark Tagging Trust with NOAA. I'll put a bit of information into the description of the video about that. Yeah, just little tags like that. And all we'll do is we'll record now the sex and the size of that fish and where we caught it. If anybody else recatches it, they'll measure the size, the sex and the location, and you can track migratory routes and growth rates. And species diversity has been that all the females might hang out together and all the males, you get my point. Yeah, I might get a bait rod out as well, because if we've got a couple of sharks that might come on, we're going to run out with that bait quick. I like having some seagulls in the slick, some fulmars or some gulls. We've got a juvenile blackback over here. I like having them in the slick because they're a brilliant bite alarm. Don't know how they know, but they know when there's a shark around. Must be like a sixth sense or something like that. I'm not sure how they know, but they know when there's a shark around. They'll be in the slick and they'll be feeding on little bits of the chum that's falling out of the bag, and then all of a sudden they'll be like, all the heads will be on a swivel, get really skittish, or if they take off real quick. Like earlier on, I noticed that he'd come in and fed on that little bit of mackerel spine that I threw in, and then straight away was out again. Yeah, I don't know how they know. I'm saying that, I imagine if I was a seagull and I spent my life on the water, I think I would learn pretty quick as to spot predators as well if my life depended on it. Yeah, we are still a little bit early on in the season. The whiting and the mackerel haven't properly arrived yet. It was really good that Chris managed to catch 2 mackerel and come out. Blue sharks are, people used to associate them with being mackerel sharks as they're hunting mackerel. They're not, they scavenge and eat on everything. I've caught them on pouting, whiting, poor cod, gurnard, pollock strips, mackerel, scad, wrasse, the lot, octopus, squid, cuttlefish. Yeah, they'll just eat out. They're just scavenging out. I've even had them a couple of times when I've brought them up and I'm looking them on the side of the boat or on board, and they've spat out octopus and like little boarfish or crabs and bits and pieces. So yeah, they're just opportunistic. But you can't downplay the value of fresh bait. There we go. That wasn't the little one, I don't think. No. Just noticed that one of the floats was laid flat and there was a little shark up on the surface. Oh, it's gone. Gone. Again, that was the shallow one. Yeah, Chris and I have been fishing away down in the bottom, and we've been noticing the seagulls. I don't know if you can see them. They're sat at the back of us here. They're not sat in the slick. There's we've got half a dozen birds sat everywhere apart from in the slick where all the food is. It kind of shows that there's sharks there in the slick because they're not in the slick. We just need to try and tempt them out. This is where having a set of polarised lenses really does come into its own, because we could see that shark underneath the water there. There, it's by my float. Following it. Turned on it. Tell you what, they're finicky. I might have it when he does. Yeah. Doesn't know he's up yet. Does now. Do you want this?
No, you carry on. See what we'll do. We'll do this out by.
I wonder if that was coincidence, just when we started putting them free offerings in.
Yeah.
Kind of come up out of the... I think they were sat down there deep. And as soon as we started putting them free offerings, come up to the surface around them. Bad one, that. That's not the little one that turned on it. There must be another one in the slick somewhere, because this shark that we've got down here isn't the little one that we saw. I might need to pull that bag up in a second. Oh, it's minging. Not a bad size shark, that. See the tag here? phased. Yeah, there's another shark tagged. Sorry, that tag number was 417763, and that unhook there shows you why you're better off fishing with barbless circles. All we've done there is we've just crushed the barb. But that just goes to show, like what we're saying, that we thought we had sharks in the slick, and we did, because the seagulls were nowhere to be seen. And as soon as we started throwing a few free offerings in, just because we couldn't see them, it didn't mean they weren't there. They were obviously sat at about 20 feet. And as soon as we saw these free offerings going and the seagulls started coming in to get them, they came up and found the bait. Yeah, both sharks have been on the shallow rod as well. So it's telling me that the furthest rod that we've got is set too deep for them. We might shallow that up as well. It's got a slack line back on the furthest float. There he is, see? Well done. Doesn't even know he's up yet, does he? Yeah, what we're looking at is some seagulls took off at the back of the slick, and then the furthest float, instead of being sat like that in the water, just laid flat, which let me know that a shark had picked up the bait and had come up in the water, so taking the weight away from the float. Might be a nicer fish, that one of yours, because it's turned the boat round. I'm trying to run my float out to distance so we can play this shark around the boat and still keep a bait out. Oh, horse, that one's the boat, didn't you? No larking about on that one. Oh, little bambino. We are 417771. If you don't open up, you can't get the hook out. Oh. Tell you what, that one was an awkward one. Just imagine if that had, that was an awkward one. Just imagine if that hook had a barb on as well. Yeah, what had happened there was it had hooked up onto the inside of its mouth and the shark just kept biting over and biting and biting. Yeah, it's worked. The difference of the two T-bars that we've got on board is that this one has got a push side to it. So this one's just for pulling out that way. Whereas this one is the one that I used on that smaller shark, because I had to go into its mouth and push the hook out. Couldn't turn it, just had to push it. That's why having one of these T-bars with that on the back's sometimes good. We can show you there. You can tell there's a shark in the slick here because we've chucked a couple of pieces of bait out and those seagulls will not land. I think we're going to be seeing a bite very soon. The circle hooks that we're using, you don't strike them like you do a normal J hook. All you do is you just tighten up to them and lift. When you're fishing for things like ling and conger and you're using a J style hook, you need to set the hook anywhere you can in its mouth. Whereas a circle, you plan on the fish taking the bait and the hook into its mouth and then moving off, and then the circle coming tight and catching it in the corner of the mouth. So you don't strike, all you do is you just tighten up and then lift. So you'll see us, all we'll do is with these reels, we'll tighten the drag until the line's tight, maybe wind for a little bit, and then just lift and bend into the fish. That turns the hook in the corner of its mouth. Sometimes we do find catching sharks like this that when we bring them alongside the boat, they've got other hooks stuck in their mouths, like Spanish longline hooks or any number of different ones. Found quite a lot last year
Go on.
Oh. Oh, is it a little one? Got you.
Got him.
Got him that time.
Get these out of the way. Okay,
It's alright.
no, I've got to get 3 rods out of the way though.
Scorpio. That's the thing. Don't worry if you hold it down. Give it a shot in a bit.
That's one of the problems of when it's slow, when you're not catching noughties, you tend to find little stuff to do. Like we both had baits on the bottom then, and then the furthest float went. Now it doesn't look like a massive shark; it only looks like a 20-odd pounder. Look at that hook, just in it. See if I can get a tag in it real quick before it realises and sheds it. 417772. Now I did that quite fast. In case anyone missed it, here it is from another angle. Not rushing, it's just a little bit of patience got that. It's a perfect tag. Around about the same stampers as the other ones. But yeah, just chipping away at them. It's good that being able to keep the chum bag in the water because you don't have any breaks in your slick. And being able to feed that last bait out, it's one of the beauties of having someone else with you there, because I would have had to put that rod in a holder, set the hook into the fish, put the rod in a holder and wind them bottom rods in and then deal with the fish. As it is, all it did is Chris just reeled in the bottom rods and I played the fish out. Just kept the fish at distance while he was dealing with it here. You're saving yourself for a big one, are you?
I'll let you play, man. Not a bad back if you wonder why John's playing them all. I do not need that stress.
Every time I deploy one of those shark tags, I fill out one of these cards. It's got all the information I was talking about, like the size, the sex, the location, and the species, the tackle you caught it on, but also any remarks that you might have about the shark's condition. Like that one, that female there that we've just tagged, had bite marks on the side of it. Now, when they're mating, they are quite rough. The males bite the females all over their backs. So it's not uncommon to find females with bite marks all over them. And it's not like they've been attacked to kill. It's obviously just like it a bit rough. But yeah, that one there has got some bite marks and look quite fresh. There is a possibility there might be a big male somewhere. There was one day last year that we come out and every single female that we've come in contact with was all covered in bite marks. And then right at the end of the session we caught a monster male shark. Blue whiting, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is quite a nice size, blue whiting. Not your normal whiting.
Oh, I still get scales everywhere.
Yeah, as it did it, I was like, oh. These are notorious for shedding scales, and it's just flapped around everywhere. As soon as it dropped off the hook, I was like, oh. There you go. And it's just bit me thumb as well.
No.
Another blue whiting. You don't want to just rub it around, Oliver. We are coming up to the end of the tide. The drift's slowing right down. We've got this easterly swell coming through. Swell's about maybe 3 foot. When we started we had wind and tide together, so we had a nice long straight drift. As soon as the tide starts to turn, our drift will go like a dog leg. As the tide's dropped off, the fishing has slowed up too, but we're still picking out the odd bite on the bottom. They are stunning these, but yeah, this one's just a little bit too small to keep. Yeah, you only get a little fillet off each side. You'd need half a dozen of these just to make a set of fish goujons. They are delicious. Really hardy fish as well. Don't suffer at all with barotrauma. Swim all the way at the surface and all the way back down again, no bother. Well, it is slow going. We've had probably an hour and a half, if not longer, with nothing. Tide dropped right down to slack and it started going the other way, and the wind's dropped off, so we've got no drift at all. We're throwing little chunks in and you can just see them sitting there and sinking all the way down. We've sighted a shark back at Slick. It's one of those ones where I would love to be able to video it and show you, but it would just look like a speck at the bottom. All it's doing is it's cutting about up on the surface so you can see its dorsal and its tail out, and it's just working its way up the Slick. Hopefully it'll find one of these baits before it comes up to the bag. That one came all the way. That one came all the way up the Slick. Came all the way up the Slick, past 2 baits, and took the bait right under the bag. Well, it might not even be that one that we saw on the surface, you know. Because it's, well, no, I'm just thinking it covered that distance quick. Some drag on there as well. Doesn't feel like that little one that we saw. No, it's not a bad fish, that. Swivels up. Gently does it. Gently does it.
Got it.
Yeah. Lord, no, at least. Tell you what, that's a stocky fish, that.
Yeah, it's fat, isn't it?
Yeah. For a fat girl, she's got some girth on her. I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you. This tag is 417773. Go. There's the tag. There's the tag. You see how like their eyes, they've got like a second eyelid on them, so when they come in for like an attack, they protect their eyes. And all these little holes here on its nose are all like sensory receptors. Ready? 1, 2. I am very pleased with that. I didn't think we were going to get another one, and that was a nice shark. That was bigger than the one that we saw at the back, so there must be two in the slick. But as I was saying earlier on, it is sometimes having another shark there around almost spurs one of them on to finding a bait. For anybody curious about how far out we are further out than the ferries and the tankers. I have honestly never caught so many pouting whilst out here. It's usually thicker whiting, and you get like a bycatch of gurnards. But you know, every fish that we've had today, we haven't had a single whiting. And if we've caught 20 fish, like 17 of them have been pouting.
Get the boat filthy as well. Stinky things.
Right, that's it, we've had our lot. I'm going to empty this chum bag out, and I'm going to go and chase down that float. It's good. Not only am I a little bit... It's a sunfish.
Is it?
You know, I said I'd heard something flap, didn't I? We just had a molar jump out of the water right next to the boat. About that big.
Oh yeah.
Going up the wave. Yeah, they're round like a disc, and they've got a fin on the top and a fin on the bottom. And if you try and hold them, one fin slaps you in the face and the other fin slaps you between the legs. Surprised he isn't in the slick. Yeah, those floats, it's just a pop bottle, but they don't make them anymore. So I'm going to go and try and catch it up and get it back. Right, we've actually noticed that the water is actually clearer here than we've had all day. All day, and when we've been coming through, it's been like a green with all the algae. What was that? 5 sharks tagged, 2 lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I consider that a great success considering it's right at the start of the season. I hope you enjoyed joining us. I hope you found it interesting. All the very best. See you later. Get going.